Dear Ian, you are one of the most famous real rock stars and an icon in the business. You're a true musician. You started in 1963 with the Blades and went to an incredible career with Jethro Tull, more than 40 years until now, with 30 albums, 4 solo albums, and selling more than 60 million records. This is incredible. First question. I read that Roland Kirk influenced you to play the flute. Why you play the flute in a rock band?
Well, Roland Kirk didn't influence me in the sense of getting me started playing the flute. I started playing the flute, in fact I bought a flute in the summer of 1967 because it looked shiny and interesting. That's the only reason.
It's cool.
I didn't hear any flute players. I knew nothing about how to play the flute. It just looked nice. It looked like a Swiss watch. It was shiny, it was bright, it was well made, well engineered, and it interested me. So I didn't actually learn to play anything on it until maybe 6 months later, and I just tried to play some of the lines that I would play on guitar. And so I translated my guitar playing and solo kind of constructions into flute playing, and there weren't any other flute players in the rock bands around at the time, so I was kind of the only guy in a blues band anyway, playing the flute.
It was a blues band.
So it was different, and that difference was what helped establish the early Jethro Tull as a group that stood out from the crowd, because everybody else just had hotshot guitar players, and the only other band I think that featured the flute really was the Moody Blues, but in a more decorative way, whereas my flute playing was a bit more aggressive, a bit more pushy. And then after I'd been playing for about 2 months, 3 months, a friend of mine gave me a Roland Kirk album to listen to, and he said, "Oh, Roland Kirk sounds like you."
Ah, this is the story about.
That's the story.
Cool.
And I heard Roland Kirk, and I thought, yeah, he plays the same kind of singing and playing thing, which I was already doing on the flute. But I did it for a different reason, because I couldn't produce a clean, clear note, so I had to sing the note as well to reinforce the note, to make it louder. But Roland Kirk was in jazz doing the same kind of thing, and so I found at least some of the music that he played I found pretty interesting, and so I learned one of his tunes probably in the 3rd month that I was playing the flute, and that was a piece that I used to play on stage and became, catchy. It was the first solo piece, the first bit that was really a flute tune that I played. So Roland Kirk is one of many people that I've heard, and most of the flute players I hear are classical musicians and folk musicians. Jazz flute is not really my kind of thing, really, but Roland Kirk's an important person, but we mustn't put him too high in amongst my influences. High in my influences are Beethoven, Muddy Waters.
Okay, so that's what would be the next question.
Roland Kirk is somewhere near the bottom.
The biggest influences to make music, was it really Beethoven and Muddy Waters?
Yeah, those are probably the two most opposite kind of musical influences I could have.
Okay.
But both very important, and being involved in Black American blues when I was a teenager, but also hearing church music and classical music and folk music, it was a very big, wide array of musical influences that I was exposed to between the ages of, say, 15 to 25.
Okay. If you would have to put an all-star band together, which musicians would you choose and why?
Ones you've never heard of, because I'm not interested in playing with famous other guys. I play with some other people sometimes, and it's very nice, but I wouldn't want to see them every day. I really wouldn't,
If it would be an all-star concert, do you do such kind of things?
Well, I have played sometimes with other musicians
you play with
as guests, but in the idea of having a bunch of people that you've heard of playing in a band with me, I'm not interested. I'm only interested in people that I find. It has to be an organic kind of introduction, and then. But no, I couldn't pick a bunch of people. It'd be like trying to make a football team. You know, and you pick this guy as a striker, you pick this guy as a defender, you put
know.
them in goals, and then you put them in a dressing room together,
Yeah.
and they hate each other.
Yeah.
That's not
You're
going to
right.
make a football team, is it?
So you're more than you meet people, and the music is a flowing thing, and then you play, and it's not about putting 4 or 5 superstars together and play.
Definitely not about doing that. No.
Okay.
No.
So
much as I would enjoy, you know, playing for 10 minutes with some people who might be famous, I just wouldn't want to wake up every morning thinking I have to go to work with these guys, you know, because it might work out to be okay, but the chances are we wouldn't really be people who wanted to see each other every day. So.
I always, as a music fan, and I'm also a drummer, so I always thought about that the big rock musicians, they know each other from the past, and they play sometimes on birthdays together or make jams. Is that happen?
I don't really know many people in the. It's always very difficult for me trying to find, guests in charity concerts that I do, because I just don't. I don't have. I mean, I have maybe 2 or 3 people I could call, but they're not usually very famous people. And once you've asked them once, I feel guilty asking them again, because once is okay. If I ask Bruce Dickinson to come and sing it,
I saw this
wherever, a cathedral. That's great that he did it once. But if I asked him again next year and the year after, he would get pretty sick. He would stop taking my calls. So I don't want to do that. I think you do it once and then you walk away, and it's
so make a gift out of it and then leave it. Yeah,
I think so. I think that's a much nicer way of having a little brief relationship with another musician. Is just to make it one little moment, and if it's good, it's good.
Understand.
But it doesn't mean you have to get married. It's just sex for a night,
Okay. As you're doing the Thick as a Brick tour, bringing 1 and 2 together, which is a great. I think this is great for every fan because nobody heard it in both pieces. What should the people know about Thick as a Brick, what they don't know yet? What do you think?
It's
2-3 sentences, just.
Thick as a Brick, the original was written as a bit of a parody of the prog rock concept album style, but it was half serious, half a joke.
But was it composed or was it out of jam sessions?
No. It was all written. I used to write for 3 hours every morning, and then I would go to meet the other guys for rehearsal in the afternoon, and we would learn what I'd written in the morning.
Oh, that's cool.
So every day we added a little bit more music, but it was done in a period of about 10 days. It was written and rehearsed. And, when I wrote when Thick as a Brick 2 came around, I wrote it in the same way. I decided, I didn't have the guys to rehearse with me, but I wrote every day for about 10 days.
Okay.
And then maybe spend another 10 days editing and, just making it in its final shape. And I just finished writing a new album, which I started at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 1st of January. And I decided some months ago, on 9 o'clock in the morning, 1st of January, I would start writing a new album. And it's good to put yourself under pressure.
This is cool.
You really have to...
So you're not this kind of guy which sleeps the whole day and then...
No.
Okay.
I like to set myself a target. And then, imagine if you're a boxer and you only fight maybe twice a year. Everything you're doing for the whole year is building to that moment where you have to walk into the ring with another guy who wants to kill you. And so there's a huge pressure and you have to be at your absolute peak at that moment.
Good picture.
So that's the same thing for me writing. If I'm going to start a new album, I want to put myself under that pressure where I have to do it. I have to succeed.
Okay.
And, it's a dangerous way to work, like as dangerous being a boxer. But it's dangerous in the sense that you could fail.
But if you do
or
nothing,
it might just not be very good.
Yeah.
So it's good to put yourself under the pressure and set a timetable to complete.
What are the next plans after the Thick as a Brick tour in music?
Well, on the 2nd of December, I start recording a new album.
A solo album or?
No, the album I wrote earlier. So because we're on tour all the time, I can't do anything to do rehearsals and recording. So first date we have some rehearsals in November, and then we start recording on the 2nd of December.
Okay.
And Unfortunately, I have a few other commitments in December, so I probably won't finish it before Christmas. I hope to finish recording it, but the mixing and mastering will probably be in January.
You do it in your own studio?
Yeah.
Cool. It's a good way, because you know everything.
I wish I did know everything. I'm still learning every day. As a musician, my attitude is every day I have to learn something. I have to try to find a new thing, something new that I didn't know yesterday.
Good.
And that's my philosophy in life. You know, every day learn something new.
I think this is a very good philosophy, because it brings nothing to you if you live in the past. You have to live in today, now, in this minute.
Well, the most dangerous people who think they know everything are in the medical profession, because they study for many years to be doctors. And some doctors think, right, now I'm qualified, I know everything. I know everything to do with the human condition, and I'm an expert. They stop learning new stuff. But medical science changes and evolves every day, every week, every year. If you're a doctor, you really have to be learning the new stuff.
Yeah.
You can't just sit and say, I'm a doctor, I don't need to know anything else. But there are some doctors who just don't keep learning, and they're dangerous people. Because they don't keep up to date with the latest drugs, the interaction between drugs.
But there's a big lobby which says, no, don't do it. We have our things which we do.
Yeah. So, musicians, especially in classical music, I do find that they often think they know everything and they've stopped learning. And that's sad, but it's not dangerous.
Yeah.
It is dangerous if you think you know everything and you happen to be a doctor.
You're right.
Or an airline pilot.
You're right.
If you're an airline pilot, you've got to keep learning the new stuff. And if you're a 60-year-old airline pilot close to retirement, you've still got to keep learning the new stuff.
Have you ever done a flight with Bruce Dickinson?
I've not done a flight with Bruce Dickinson. I've done a flight. So actually, Bruce Dickinson's suggestion, I went to British Airways to fly 737.
Okay.
He wanted me to fly the 757
yes.
because that's the airplane he's qualified to fly. But I chose to fly the 737-400 series, and I took off once and I landed twice.
You landed twice?
Yeah, at Heathrow Terminal 5. Around, kind of the middle of the day, late morning, quite busy. But since I was only in the British Airways 737 simulator, I couldn't hurt anybody.
You're crazy. Well, last question. Oh, it's not a question, it's more from a musician to a musician for the musicians. When we talk to new folk rock bands like Danzan or Evening Hymns, they told us that Jethro Tull was their reason to start into music. Do you have some advice for young bands nowadays to be successful in these changing music times?
Yeah, don't tell journalists that you got into music because you have a particular person that got you into music. I mean, you notice I kind of dodged around your question about Roland Kirk, because that follows you through life.
You're right.
And if you're a young band and you say, well, I got into music because I just, I discovered Led Zeppelin in my father's record collection, and I just wanted to, that got me into music. That story is going to follow them around forever. So that's my advice. Just pretend that you never heard anything. Pretend that one day you just woke up in the morning and you felt this weird ability to play music, and you don't know where it came from. Maybe you were visited by aliens in the night. But don't admit to having heroes. Don't have heroes. It's just going to follow you. It'll be an embarrassing thing everybody's going to ask you about for the rest of your life. So just pretend it just happened.
Thank you. Ian, thank you. This was great.
Okay.
Good sentence.
You need a photograph.
Thank you. I need a